Good afternoon. I'm Cathy Byrd, and this is Fresh Art International. We're broadcasting live from the Untitled Art Fair on Miami Beach. And today I have three guests, Sharon Misdea, Silvia Barisione, and Christie van der Haak. You'll be joining us from the Wolfsonian to talk about More is More, a super cool Dutch art and design project at the Wolfsonian. I'll introduce everyone before we start. I'm Cathy Byrd again. I'm an independent curator and writer and educator with 2 decades of experience in contemporary art. I launched Fresh Art International as a podcast 5 years ago, and now I produce this podcast and radio shows. And I was invited to present daily shows here at Untitled Art Fair, so I'm really pleased to have you join me today.
We're glad to be here.
Thank you, Cathy.
Christie van der Haak is from the Hague in the Netherlands. She studied design and fashion, and she's a painter interested in high color and decorative patterns. Pattern and design seems like it's part of your DNA, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Sharon Aponte Misdea is Deputy Director of Collectors and Curatorial Affairs at the Wolfsonian, and she's in charge of preserving and exhibiting this massive collection that belongs to the museum. Silvia Barisione is curator at the Wolfsonian, and her research focuses primarily on 20th century design and pre-war Italian architecture. And she is curator of a current exhibition called Modern Dutch Design at the Wolfsonian. So to set the stage, let's talk about what the Wolfsonian is. Where did it come from? Where is it? Sharon?
The Wolfsonian is a museum located on Miami Beach, 10th and Washington, so very close to the fair. It was founded in 1995 and became part of Florida International University in 1997. We are a museum and research center focused on art and design from the modern era, so roughly 1850 to the end of the Second World War, up to 1950. And our themes focus on everything from political propaganda to modern Dutch design and decorative arts to
Means of transportation, colonies.
So the collection is quite encyclopedic from that time period.
So what is the Wolfsonian's connection with Dutch design in particular? Is that a good question for Silvia to answer, since she's the one that staged this exhibition?
So the exhibition, Modern Dutch Design, it's really a selection from our collection with just a bunch of loans. The Rietveld chairs that are not in our collection because we are more focused on the period from the Nieuwe Kunst, which is the Art Nouveau for the Netherlands, and the Amsterdam School. But from our exhibition, you can have a kind of idea of the emphasis on geometry, which is typical of Dutch design. If you think of the pure geometric forms and the abstraction of the style movement, which started in 1917.
And I think it's important in this show that you're revealing how Dutch designers and architects designed in that time period, in the modern time period.
Yes, sure. So it's a kind of conversation with Christie's piece. She works on patterns which are in a way inspired by the batik patterns that you can find in the collection and in the exhibition, which were inspired by the Indonesian culture. As you know, the Netherlands had the Dutch East Indies, which were their colonies in Indonesia. And they appropriated the batik technique in their furniture, book bindings, and textiles.
So, Christie, this project is huge. Before we talk about how it looks, what did you respond to when you came to visit the Wolfsonian and saw the architecture and I think the exhibition came later, but I believe when she visited, you saw some of the works that would be shown.
I came here 1 year ago for the fair, and I heard about this museum in Holland already, and I think it's a big, unbelievable surprise to find a museum in Miami where there is so much Dutch art, and I don't speak about the library with all the Dutch books. It is, you can't imagine before that it was so, surprising.
And I remember when we went through the exhibition with Silvia and Sharon a few weeks ago, you saw things that you'd never seen before.
No.
Country.
Yeah, the collection is very extraordinary, I should say. And of course, I looked in a lot of books, and I have a big interest in the period. But here in the museum are pieces, I never saw them before, And especially in this exhibition is going on now, it's very interesting to see those pieces.
And Christie's a contemporary designer and artist, and I think it'd be interesting to hear about the Wolfsonian's history of, it's a modern design and art design museum, how the museum got involved with contemporary art and how that led you to Christie.
Well, routinely the Wolfsonian tries to engage with contemporary artists and asks them to respond to works in our own collection, reinterpret them, draw inspiration from them, to create new work, or work that will stand in conversation with something that's happening in the building. And so in the case of the Modern Dutch Design exhibition quite some time ago, Silvia actually had proposed a number of Dutch artists that we could consider approaching to do something in tandem with the Modern Dutch Design exhibition. And when the staff that weighs in on these things saw Christie's work popped up on the screen, our collective gasp sort of answered what direction we would go this year. And so we invited Christie to undertake a project at the Wolfsonian that in this case, I think Christie's work had already was so obviously inspired by movements that were included in the exhibition that we didn't have to do too much work in terms of talking about the collection and how she might respond to it. It was inherent in her work already.
So this is your first experience, Will, at the Wolfsonian. We know there are interior and exterior elements of your project, and I think it would be great to describe the iconic site of the installations, the building itself. Describe the building itself, on which she created the exterior. Do you have a description how you would describe the building?
The first thing I thought, it is a temple. Some people say an Aztec temple, maybe an Egyptian temple. But on the same...
Funny, I always think of it looking like a castle.
Castle. Yeah. Well,
but I like the Egyptian temple.
Yeah. But you could also think, that was what I later thought, a wedding cake. It was all different layers. And doing the decoration on the facade, it was really like you are working on a very big cake, and it's getting up higher and higher, and all different layers got another decoration. So that's more funny to think about that.
Tell us about the palette and the designs that you chose for that.
Well, I always like to make a pattern very complex, and I design always by hand, drawing by hand, and maybe in that way you can compare me a little like William Morris. I also try to make something so beautiful for a lot of people to join and to love it. And I like to make a pattern rich, and in the richness, you can think about a palace or it's becoming a castle. I think it's more what you feel when you come inside the lobby. It's really like a Venetian palace, and you hear the water from the fountain, and you see the benches with the fabrics on it, and it's all working to feel now. That is the most important thing. I think that people they become happy from it, and they feel like a kind of comfort, or you like to sit there and to look around and to be in the atmosphere.
Well, I want to get a little more into the lobby and describe that too, and I'm thinking that those who are listening might have experienced it for the first time in the exterior, like walking down the street. And just to let you know, the Wolfsonian is located at the corner of 10th and Washington Avenue on Miami Beach, just, like we said, about 2 blocks from Untitled Art Fair, which is where we're sitting right now. And so there are thousands of people that might be seeing it and not know what it is. That's one reason we're having this conversation, to introduce it to the world. It's on 3 levels, reaches up at some points to 60 feet. It's 2 sides of the building, and there's another exterior activation.
So the Wolfsonian, with support from the Knight Foundation, has a long-term project called the Art of Illumination, through which we produce video or animations that are projected onto the north side of our building. So one of our graphic designers, Brittany Ballinger, worked with Christie to take Christie's hand-drawn patterns and animate them in the projection that's happening on the north side of the building. So in effect, extending the installation to 3 sides of the building. And so in that projection, people can see a bit of Christie's process. First, her black and white line drawings, and the coloring of those drawings, the mirroring of those patterns, which is something I know that's very important in Christie's work, this idea of mirroring. And so the animation illustrates that for passersby.
Right. And I was speaking to you earlier about, I realized with my experiences on the beach so far that Christie's project is 20 feet taller than the new sculpture by Ugo Rondinone on Collins Avenue in Collins Park. So you've trumped a Swiss sculptor. And taking people inside as a way of bringing them into the Dutch design experience, I think, is another surprise rendering I remember seeing at one point in my experience of this project, that you had a vision of how you would immerse the lobby. So let's describe, you were describing how it feels in there, but let's describe exactly what that means to be immersed in the lobby.
I think the ceiling on the 3rd or 4th floor, I don't know, is already has such an impact when you visit the building.
That's the 7th floor, right? That's
oh,
the very
really?
top floor, yes.
Because it's broken.
But it already has a pattern and design on it.
Yeah, and I love the ceiling and the lamps hanging there. So I really had a feeling that it would be beautiful to do also the ceiling of the lobby. And I'm so happy that we were able to do that. And the ceiling, and the floor, and the walls, all together.
And some benches.
And some benches.
Tapestry-covered benches.
Yeah.
Originally, we had talked with Christie about only doing the exterior of the building, but the project garnered so much support from various organizations like the Mondrian Foundation, Creative Industries in the Netherlands. We were then able to expand the project and create this immersive experience in the lobby. And so on the floor, we installed just enough vinyl outside of the front doors to give passers-by a sneak peek or something to catch their curiosity, so they look inside and then come inside and get just enveloped in Christie's patterns. And so, and then we just continued expanding it. Christie wove several carpets to then be installed. We had S. Harris and Fabricut, the American manufacturer that produces her textiles, contribute textiles. We were able to create furniture then to include in the lobby, and it just seemed to keep growing.
Yes, and I think that it's really cool the way that it does introduce the designs that are upstairs, and I'm sure you would love to have people keep going up to the 7th floor and experience the gorgeous modern Dutch design exhibition that's there. Sylvia, you did a fantastic job. I'm wondering if we can explain how visitors can experience the work during this week. There are various ways.
Sure. Obviously, people can simply walk by the building at 10th and Washington during the day, but also in the evening to better see the projection on the north wall. They're welcome to come into the lobby and just spend some time, like I said, wrapped up in Christie's wonderful work. Of course, again, the ultimate goal is to help visitors make the connection between Christie's patterns and the Dutch design history and inspiration behind those patterns, and come upstairs to the 6th floor and see Sylvia's labor of love, the Dutch design exhibition, which has over 200 works in it. We had to rein her in quite a bit because our collection would have allowed several more floors if we let her. And so people can come upstairs and spend some time in the exhibition, which is really quite beautiful.
Yeah. And where else can we see your work during Art Basel, Christie?
Well, you can
outside the museum.
Yes, of course. Well, I'm very happy that my work is also shown by Gallery Vivid in the design fair. And, I hope people will come to look at this. And that's it.
And it's important to know the Wolfsonian is a charming, often referred to as a jewel box museum. And this is a very ambitious project for them to take on, to do this wrap and the immersion and the Dutch show. The Wolfsonian will be presenting a number of different public programs and events throughout the show, past the time that we have your visit. And we thank you for being with us on our show today at Fresh Art International at Untitled Art Fair. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more conversations on Fresh Art International.